Hello kids, this is Mr. T, and we're gonna tell you kids stories. Today I brought a Spanish story. This is a folk tale, part of storytelling tradition of Spain. And as usual, we have Jobi here to make our video more interesting. So, are you ready?
Interesting?
Yeah.
I'm playing with you in this video.
You're playing with me in this video.
Yeah.
As usual.
As usual.
Ready? Let's go.
Ready.
It's actually so hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Once upon a time, in a Spanish village surrounded by rolling hills and sunny fields, there lived a little tailor. He was not rich, but he was clever and quick-witted. He spent his days sewing clothes for the villagers and dreaming of adventure. One sunny morning, as the tailor sat by his window, finishing the last stitch on a fine coat, the smell of freshly baked bread drifted through the air. His stomach growled. He looked down at the small piece of cheese and sighed.
This won't fill me up,
He said to himself.
but I'll make the best of it.
As he prepared to eat, a group of flies buzzed around his food. Annoyed, the tailor grabbed a piece of cloth and swatted at them. When he lifted the cloth, he saw 7 dead flies lying on the table.
7 with 1 blow?
He exclaimed. He felt a rush of pride.
Not many can say they've done that. This is something worth telling to the world.
Inspired, the tailor stitched the words 7 with 1 blow onto his belt in bold letters. The tailor decided it was time to leave his quiet village and seek adventure. He packed a small bag with bread, cheese, and a needle and a thread, just in case. With his new belt proudly displayed, he set off down the dusty road. As he walked through the countryside, he passed a group of farmers working the fields. They noticed the words on his belt and whispered among themselves.
7 with 1 blow? No? He must be a great warrior,
said one farmer.
Look at how small he is. He doesn't look strong, but he must be very skilled to defeat 7 in 1 strike,
said another. The tailor overheard them and smiled to himself.
Let them think what they want,
he thought. The tailor's journey soon brought him to a dense forest. As he walked through the shadows of the tall trees, he heard a loud, rumbling noise. It sounded like thunder, but the sky was clear. Curious and a little nervous, he crept closer to the sound. To his surprise, he found 2 giants arguing loudly. Each giant was taller than the tallest tree, with wild hair and booming voices that shook the ground.
That treasure belongs to me,
roared the first giant.
No, it's mine.
Below the second. Actually, that was the bigger one.
I'm the big one.
You are the grey one. The tailor watched from behind the bush. His heart pounded. But his clever mind began to work.
If I can outsmart these giants, I will have a real story to tell.
He thought. Stepping out from the bushes, the tailor shouted.
What's all this noise about? Can't you two solve your problem without shouting?
Shouting, actually. The giant turned to look at them, their massive faces filled with confusion.
Who are you, little man?
Asked the first giant.
I'm the tailor who defeats 7 with 1 blow,
said the tailor, pointing to his belt.
If you don't stop fighting, you'll both regret it.
The giant stared at the words on his belt and then at each other. They didn't want to mess with someone so powerful.
Fine.
Said the second giant.
But if you're so strong, prove it. Let's see if you can pass our test.
The first giant picked up a heavy rock and squeezed it until water dripped out.
Can you do that?
He asked. The tailor nodded confidently. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small piece of cheese, holding it. That's not a giant, man. This is not a giant. This is dwarf, actually.
It's me. Really tall.
This is not a giant, kids. It's not a giant.
I love it.
Okay. The tailor nodded confidently. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small piece of cheese. Holding it up, he pretended to strain as he squeezed it. Cheese juice dripped onto the ground.
Impressive.
Said the second giant, narrowing his eyes.
But try this.
He picked up a giant rock and threw it high into the sky. The rock disappeared into the clouds.
Let's see who'll do better.
He said. The tailor smiled. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small bird he had caught earlier. He tossed it into the air and it flew away.
There,
said the tailor, crossing his arms.
my rock didn't just go into the sky. It flew away completely.
The giants looked at each other, shocked.
Maybe he really is stronger than us.
Whispered one. The giant decided to make the tailor the leader.
Come with us to our cave.
They said.
You can share our treasure.
The tailor followed the giants to a large cave hidden deep in the forest. Inside, there were piles of gold coins, glittering jewels, and treasures of every kind. But the tailor wasn't interested in staying with the giants forever. He needed a plan to escape. The night, as the giants slept, the tailor climbed to the top of their beds. With his needle and thread, he stitched their blankets together. When the giants woke up and tried to move, they found themselves stuck.
What is this?
Roared one giant.
It's the work of the tailor.
Said the other. While the giants struggled, the tailor grabbed a small bag of gold and slipped out of the cave. The next morning, the tailor arrived at the nearby kingdom. News of his belt had traveled ahead of him. And
Why?
That was a great belt.
Okay.
With the marketing and stuff. And the king himself came to greet him.
7 with 1 blow.
Said the king.
You must be a great warrior. Our kingdom is troubled by a fierce wild boar. If you can defeat it, I reward you with half of my kingdom.
That's generous. The tailor nodded.
Consider it done.
He said. The villagers guided the tailor to the forest where the wild boar lived. It was a terrifying beast with sharp tusks and glowing red eyes, but the tailor stayed calm.
Wait.
Just like that. Just like that. He climbed a tree and tied his bag of cheese to the end of the rope. He lowered it near the boar, who sniffed the air and charged at the bag. As the boar attacked the bag, the tailor dropped the net over it. The boar struggled, but it couldn't escape. The tailor returned to the village with the wild boar in tow. The king was so impressed that he kept his promise, giving the tailor half of the kingdom and a grand palace to live in.
Why?
The tailor's, because the tailor was so clever. The tailor's cleverness had turned him from a simple villager into a hero. Though he ruled wisely, he always remembered the day he first stitched 7 with one blow onto his belt. Kids, this story teaches us that courage and quick thinking are more important than size or strength. So even the smaller person can achieve great things by using their wits. To the next video. Thank you, man.
Except you.
Except.